Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis, updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it together. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all these topics and subjects looking for potential investment opportunities. I'm a longer term investor. I don't trade the short term little small market movements, although this is an update for shorter term market movements. I take big picture views. I use ratios, technical analysis, and market conditions, which is basically cycles, to find good entry points for what I think is going to be we're in a commodity super cycle. We're at the bottom for some of these sectors. Some of the sectors have already broken out of their bottoms and are starting to move on up, like copper and other sectors. So if that's something that interests you, I'm looking for the max. I've got my opinions and how I invest. I usually look for the largest asymmetry possible, which means I try to maximize the most upside potential given the risk that I'm willing to take. And then I also have a lot of stuff that is a lot less risky for investments. I also go over a lot of dividend stuff as well. If that interests you, we have a special coupon code. Special is the coupon code that you have to put in to the coupon code to get a special. It's 50% off the first month and a larger discount on the yearly membership. And you can see those discounts in the description link below. All right, let's dive in. 7 a.m. Mountain question, 7 a.m. Mountain Time question and answer session coming up tomorrow or Saturday. So starting with the dollar here, we've got a weaker dollar. We're pulling on back. That's generally accompanied by weaker yields. So we are coming on back. We do have support. All through here is support. That huge chunk of trading. So if we are going to go lower, we're going to have to travel through support if we are going to head lower. The 2-year yield pulling back a good chunk today, about 1%. We're back to this resistance line. So a lot of the times you break below it, retest, and then head lower. And we'll see if we get any follow through here. We do have a little wick at the bottom, which means there's a little bit of buying pressure. It wasn't a flat out seller ruled the market move where you get a big down candlestick and it closes really strong with momentum into the closing. So if we were to show that, you can see a strong closing is when your momentum goes down. This one came back up throughout the day, and that's what the wick is. This very well could reverse. You can throw patterns on here and say, yeah, it's a shoulder, head, shoulder, and a potential break higher. But that's what we have to see. We have to monitor to see what kind of follow through we get, either downside or upside. 10-year yield down, but we're back within this pattern here. I don't think it looks that bad. And this, I could squeeze it up like that. Then the 30-year did the same thing as the 10-year. It pulled on back, but again, we get these wicks at the bottom. There's some buying pressure there, or selling pressure if yields are going up. So there's selling pressure in the bond market for yields to go up, and that's right through here. So it's almost like someone came in here, hit it with a huge jolt right at the beginning, and then kind of like walked away and then let the markets recover. So we're seeing this at the beginning at some of these time frames where you get these large market movements at the beginning of the market, which to me spells that something is going on. Like they're trying to push rates lower or hold them down in the markets. TYX TNX ratio heading on up a little bit. That's generally a tailwind behind precious metals, but definitely not today. TLT bond prices are up a little bit, but we lost some momentum throughout the day, so it gapped up in the morning. This is pre-market. It gapped up, and then it started to come back down towards the middle end of the day. We've got the 2 and 10 yield curve inverted some. That's with the short end of the curve going down less than the long end of the curve. So that goes up. We've got gold down $50 an ounce. $50 an ounce. And it's a big bearish engulfing here. Are we going to start a consolidation? Do we have some sideways action here? We'll have to see. But this happened across the board all at the beginning of the day, kind of. So if we were to look, this is a 5-day look. You can see these big hits, boom, 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 come back up, boom, boom, boom. So we're getting hit pretty hard here on some of these candlesticks through here to the downside. That also transpired in silver with the big wick at the top. Silver, it looked fantastic, guys. We were ready to rip. We were breaking through everything. Did they come and smack this today? I don't know. Very possible that they did, and that's why we're getting some of these wicks. There's some selling pressure there, and I don't know who that selling pressure necessarily is. But it occurred across the board, across gold, silver, platinum, palladium, oil, copper, and they all look fantastic most of them look fantastic to run. So here is silver, logarithmic chart. So we've got these bottoming patterns there, big advance higher. I think we're going to see a big advance higher, but it is kind of weird that we just got hit right when there isn't that much resistance up here. We've got platinum also getting hit pretty hard. This was ready. Everything was basically breaking out. The animal spirits were released, but here we are with some pretty big selling pressure these 2 days here. Usually the selling pressure subsides and you don't get these big selling pressure moves. So we're at resistance here, longer term, and we're trying to break out, and that's kind of where we're at with platinum. Palladium down, $19 an ounce. There we are. And that also getting hit with everything else, but still looks good to go higher. We've got GDX down 3.4 with the bearish engulfing, GDXJ bearish engulfing, and SILJ bearish engulfing. What that means is it's usually a turning point where we could head lower based off of the candlestick today. We'll see if there's follow through with it. And here it is on a weekly time frame on all these. You can see the large selling pressure we experienced today. XAU to gold ratio, that showed up there as well. Some big selling pressure, bearish engulfing where we could go sideways or lower. And we are coming at from an incredibly low level. So XAU, gold and silver mining companies divided by gold, again, super low level, and we'll see where this goes. The people who run things, the Federal Reserve, the governments, all that stuff, they want to keep the money in intangible assets. They don't want it to spill over into gold, silver, crude oil, copper, because that's going to cause inflation. So I think what they're trying to do is control the move of gold up. They don't want it to go up too fast, which, it's been going up a lot. They don't want silver to run because this is basically at the starting gate of what could be a very big move. We've got similar fractals here. If you guys look at the fractals of it, a fractal is a repeating pattern. Just to kind of show you guys, this is kind of where I'm grabbing it, and this here is just squeezed up. Got to move it over 1 second, and then I got to squeeze it up a little bit. So something on the lines of that is probably what is occurring here. If I squeeze it up, and this is just compressed in here, like this guy is this guy there, so it's compressed up a little bit. But that's kind of what we're seeing on the fractal front. Could it go up here to 370? Well, let's just do this. If this is your silver and we throw this on top, it's pretty much the measured move. So I don't know if if someone's behind this trying to hold this down at the moment. Tough to say, but I think that's eventually where we'll go. And all these gold and silver, with the potential possibility of um, gold or silver going up there, we've got the gold and silver mining companies divided by gold at a ridiculous valuation against gold. So if we go up there and these were to outperform and go back towards this upper spot, what that means is that you will be outperforming the price of gold and potentially silver, depending on what you choose from, on a 5 or 6 to 1 basis. So these are leveraged 5 or 6 times to that price move. If we were to go back to up here, between zero point 0.3 and 0.36. Crude oil down 0.8%. It was looking really good in the morning, but didn't finish that strong. We're back to the support zone. We're at $70. And if you guys listen to the conference calls, we're not drilling more. We're pulling back on drilling. This is far too low of a price to incentivize drilling in the shale patch. So I'm in the camp that this is going to go higher with time. Is there a recession? Could we pull on back like this? This is all possible. But again, that would make oil like probably the second cheapest in the history of the oil markets on a ratio perspective. TTF gas is down 0.81%, getting some selling pressure yesterday, bouncing a little bit back today, momentum wise. Natural gas up 2.8, still underneath resistance. There's your resistance that I'm talking about, that downtrend line. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, bucking the trend, up 0.8% today, holding on strong above support and getting squeezed between resistance and support here. We're getting squeezed in here. Are we going to break higher, or are we going to take a little detour before doing it? Don't know. But we'll watch it together. OIH down 0.7%, but still holding on. It looks like we're getting a little bit of a squeeze going on here. We're starting to squeeze into a corner. I'll draw it a little bit better here. We did enter this from the top side down. What does that mean? It means that we entered it from this direction. That generally consolidates and we might get a move lower. Your move, sometimes they measure it in the size of your entrance. So it could be something on the lines of maybe like this, and that would be like your move. That's kind of what your move is when you started the pattern. So yeah, it makes sense. Newcastle coal futures down slightly right at support. And this could come back here. It could come back further. It definitely looks like we've got good momentum selling pressure here in the short term. We've got Sprott Physical Uranium Trust down 1.66%. There we are today, and we're still in the pattern, the big flag pattern. But we could even tag down here. But again, everything looks good from a longer term perspective, even though we've been getting some short term selling pressure. Uranium futures pricing also flat, but it has been heading down. Momentum is to the downside. URA down 3.2%. A little bit of a somewhat stronger candlestick. URNM down 3.78. This is looking pretty good down here. And then URNJ down 5.22. We're down to the 17s, boys. Yeah, we're getting close here. I'm going to see what kind of pressure we get next week in this general area down there. Copper down 2.78, putting in that bearish engulfing candlestick right at support resistance. So we're starting to see a little bit of selling pressure here, and we'll see what occurs. We saw that across copper, oil, platinum, palladium, gold, and silver today. These big, just ridiculous move candlesticks. COPX down a little bit with copper, down 1%. This looks a little bit more, it's not as big of a move in the equities. It's almost like like the big boys want to get entries to them, so they hit they hit the paper markets, so the guys could load up on the equities. Iron ore down slightly, still looks fantastic for a move higher with time. Small little selling pressure candlestick on the week, looks pretty well poised for a move on up. Aluminum up 1.17, but still underneath that last resistance area. We are squeezing up into that corner. We've got nickel up slightly, trading sideways. We've got Mu up 0.5%, and I still think this will go higher. So I take the big pattern. I don't. A lot of people focus too much on like this line and this line here. Like that's the only thing. Don't focus on the lines. Focus on the fractals. The fractals are this pattern here, the breakout, return move, and then we should move on up. So a lot of people focus too much on the lines, not enough on the pattern that is being created. Emerging markets up 0.77, looking pretty good, like it wants to take a run upward today. That looks good. KRE up a little bit. It's holding on where it's at. We've got CAN up 1.5% in this nice little chopping section that's getting smaller and smaller. So maybe we can try to turn and work our way on up. Lithium sideways, just a little bloody nose, looks good to go higher. We're breaking out of this downtrend line, so that looks like some positive development. REMX down 2%, and we are back to this support level almost, but we're sitting there chopping sideways. I do think this is going to work its way on up. It looks good. Looks like it's doing almost like a retest move of this little guy there. Baltic Dry Index up slightly, 0.5%. Looks, this is real cheap, real cheap. Now, I think it'll probably bottom in 2025, but it might take some time. Doesn't mean we'll just reverse and rip. It might take some time and bounce around down here for a little bit. XHB, which is the Homebuilders, we're up 0.67%. I don't like the way this chart looks, though. I mean, we've got a rising wedge that's coming like this, and then you come to a corner and it kind of pauses and turns and breaks out, and then we try to come back up. We'll see. We'll see what happens. This is moving with the S&P here. This is the SPX overlaid on it. You guys see any sort of, it's the same chart. So they're moving together. We've got the Russell 2000 down slightly, but holding on. We've got the S&P 500 sideways and holding on. We've got the NASDAQ up slightly, and we are still working our way on up. So the plunge protection team holding its ground, trying to keep money from rotating, keeping in here, the S&P, Russell. They don't want it to rotate into the physical stuff. The markets are going to overwhelm them at some point, though. SMCI up massively or bigly, up 13%, breaking out of this flag pattern to the upside. That is bullish. NVIDIA up 2.5%, working its way on up, broken the downtrend line. Bitcoin up slightly, but still tracking sideways. Ethereum up, but again, we've got downside momentum. It's trying to turn here. We'll see if it can be successful to start working its way on up, or if it's going to fail and get a big red candlestick there. MicroStrategy still in this big flag pattern. That still looks good to go work its way on up if it wants to, if Bitcoin does work its way on up. And then the VIX is down 2% since the S&P was holding sideways. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website. Special is that coupon code. We've got a question and answer session coming up tomorrow, Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Time, and we'll see you guys there. We'll cover some of the stuff I look for in the companies and all that stuff. But that's what I've got. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.